If there was one simple change you could make to your language learning to stop you burning out, would you do it? So many people want to learn a language, but not everybody actually manages to make progress. They give up before they've even gotten anywhere, but it's not their fault. There could be a simple change that you could make that would not only stop you losing motivation and burning out, it could turn you into a language learner for the rest of your life. It could literally be life-changing. In this video, I'll explain this simple change and how it could alter how you learn languages forever. First of all, let's define burnout. It might sound obvious, but what's actually happening when someone burns out? Now, a lot of the YouTube motivation bros will say it's about willpower or lacking enough of it to keep going, essentially blaming the person for their failure. And I think that's not only unkind, it also doesn't really make any sense if you think about it. If someone's told to climb Everest, now let's call them Big Frank. Big Frank gets out of breath walking to the shops. He's going to find the climb to the summit of Everest, the world's highest mountain, nigh on impossible. Now, obviously willpower helps, but it's very much relative to a person's situation, including their level of experience, their personality, etc. It will take the well-trained athlete less willpower to get to the top of Everest than it will Big Frank. Now, Franks the world, fear not. This is what we're going to fix today. Hashtag be more Frank. So let's just say burnout is when people run out of energy or motivation to continue, which is also linked to their level of experience at the time. The good news is that there is a straightforward fix for this, which I'll share with you in this video. Oh, and by the way, if you like tips like this, I share them every week in my newsletter, so check out the link in the description. So seeing as not everybody is starting out at the same level of knowledge, I'm briefly going to mention the old comprehensible input here. Now, I know everybody in the language learner community on YouTube knows exactly what this is.
Dude, we're all about comprehensible input last year. Real bros are all about input processing now.
Sure, but if I were to go outside and ask someone to give me a definition of comprehensible input, I doubt they'd know what I'm going on about. So for anyone new here, the too long didn't read version is that you can pick up a language from seeing words in context the same way that young children do. The classic thing people say is, well, how do you start if you don't know any words at all? Well, communication is more than just words. It's gestures, pitch, objects. They can all teach you the meaning of a word. Like if I say, me mola mucho. You can get from the tone the meaning without having to get a dictionary out. There are whole YouTube channels dedicated to this sort of thing, probably in the language you're learning. By the way, you can look up words too. That's clearly another tool in your toolkit. There's no judgment here, friends. Now, it's definitely not the only way to approach language learning, and I'm not suggesting it's the only way you do it by any means, but if you don't have a lot of experience, watching these types of videos on YouTube is a great way to get started. Because there are lots of gestures or props in the videos, you can pick up the language without studying it. So one thing that comes up with comprehensible input is the idea of I+1, which we're going to use to help you overcome this risk of burning out, but probably not on the way you'd expect. So I+1 is what Professor Stephen Krashen, who is the poster boy for comprehensible input, it's what he says is the ideal position where we find stuff that is at our level, I, but which is a little bit harder and contains some new stuff. That's the +1. To which the critics say,
The f are you talking about? I+1? What the f does that even mean? How the f am I supposed to find this magical f***ing content at the right f***ing level?
Which is a fair point. Look, it's the real world. Sometimes stuff might be too easy, sometimes it might be too hard, but if you can't understand a single word that's being said, it's not going to be that useful. And obviously, some languages are going to have better content than others. The most successful language learners take personal responsibility for their learning. That might include taking some time to search for content that's at the right level. You might have to come up with some content with a tutor online, or just accept that it's going to be a bit harder than you would like for now until your level catches up. So in a minute, we're going to take this I+1 idea and then mess with it. First of all, it's important to point out that language learning is about finding stuff that you can enjoy along your journey so you can stay motivated. A great way to do that is by using Lingopie. Lingopie have a library of online content at a load of different levels. So whether you're looking to just get started with simple programs where you can pick up new words in context, or you're looking to pick up those new words from your favorite shows like La Casa de Papel or others. So I've nearly finished La Casa de Papel and I can watch it with the subtitles on, and every time there's a new word I don't know, I can click to see its meaning and it's automatically added added to the list of words that I'm learning. With one plan, you can access content in 9 different languages if you feel that you want to dip your toe into some other languages as well. There's content from complete beginner right up to popular series enjoyed by native speakers. Lingopie is a great way to enjoy the language learning process from day one, rather than having to wait to some unknown point in the future when you finally get to engage with enjoyable content. Using the link in the description, you can get a 70% discount off a lifetime subscription. Thanks to Lingopie for sponsoring this video. But now, the Burnout Momentum Continuum. Obviously I've named that, which is why the name's rubbish, but I'm open to suggestions in the comments. What the bejesus am I talking about? I look at it this way. When you start learning a language, you're in the middle between being overwhelmed on one side and actually having some momentum on the other side. If you went from nothing to doing 8 hours a day of the most difficult language learning exercises imaginable, you would swing to the overwhelmed side of the scale pretty quickly and probably give up. Now obviously you can't do nothing, you do want to learn a language, so by doing just enough, where we're starting to pick up some momentum and we're still enjoying it, we can get ourselves into the momentum side without feeling like it's too much. You can feel your level of ability starting to improve, or your confidence in using the language perhaps getting better over time. If we come to the idea of Big Frank getting ready to climb Everest, Frank can start to do some simple workouts every day where he builds his habits he needs in order to get in shape. And it's not overwhelming, you can stick to doing them every day. That sounds straightforward, right? Well, this is where the neuroscience comes in. Homeostasis. Bam, how'd you like them apples? Having one of those days. What I mean by that is this: the brain has a natural mechanism where it will seek to find balance. In Anna Lem's book Dopamine Nation, she explains that the brain will get accustomed to the environment it's in as it seeks to balance its experience of pain and pleasure. This is a core function of the brain and explains a lot of behavior, including addiction. The short version of this for us is that your brain gets used to stuff which initially might have felt difficult. So this homeostasis idea is essential to understand what's about to happen next. That's where I'm going to take this I+1 idea and use it completely out of context, but I really think this is going to be helpful to people. So I can't stress enough how your habits shape your success as a language learner. Low key, this is the biggest thing that will define how well this process goes for you. Good habits will help you get momentum, like you've got the wind in your sails, like you're Jack and Rose on the front of the Titanic with the wind in your hair. Now, I know the Titanic didn't have sails, and maybe it's not the best ship to choose for the example, but you get the idea. Whereas learning a language with bad habits is more akin to driving with the brakes on. Everything just feels so much harder. You can do loads of stuff when it comes to learning a language. Watch content, read books, have online lessons, visit the country, even study grammar and do flashcards if it helps you. It's your learning. Don't let anybody else tell you there's only one way to do it. But remember the continuum from before. You can build up to that. You don't have to burn out and completely give up before you've really got started. That's why I think for the complete beginner, just watching comprehensible videos online actually is so great. You can start to form the habit and become a language learner first of all. Picking a small thing you can do every day can start to push you over to the momentum side of the continuum without feeling like it's too much. Over time, it totally makes sense to add more things, but don't do it to the point that you want to give up. This should be an enjoyable process where each step feels exciting rather than overwhelming. Once Frank gets into shape, his normal exercise routine doesn't feel too bad. That's the homeostasis effect. He decides to add some more intensive workouts in order to keep improving. When he feels he's pushed it a bit too far, rather than being a YouTube motivation bro and pushing himself to the point that he just gives up, he remembers that consistency is king. He remembers he just needs to stick to doing something every day. He's still making progress, whereas if he burns out, he stops and he loses those sweet, sweet gains. And I think people spell gains with a Z these days. So if you want to be more Frank, you need to find a routine that you can stick to. And as you get used to that, you can build it up over time. You don't have to do everything right now. You know you better than anyone, I hope. What can you fit into your current routine without needing to quit your job and move abroad? Just do that for now. It's like setting the cruise control in your car. You're making progress and you don't need to worry about anyone else. Watching videos or listening to podcasts will naturally build up your understanding if they're at the right level. Maybe you like reading, maybe you want to follow a structured course online. Get going, and as you build the momentum, you can add stuff in the future. Stay consistent. It genuinely could change your life. Remember when I said that habits are what will make or break your language learning? Well, this video here will help you start taking steps towards fluency.